had a meeting in Washington, and he claimed immunity under the Shield Law. The judge accepted. A bit of it has been a change in attitude.
There was another decision just this week, wasn't there, that relates to this?
Well, he wrote this story during its
structure.
people who feel that we can be taken behind closed doors and forced to talk about what we know and who gave it to us. These people will not talk to us anymore. And the concern of the newsman is that he not become an investigative arm of government. Newsman's job is to publish the information, get it to the public, and we feel that the man in government who is concerned about this can then take that information and go find out what it's all about.
Al Fonda of Grand Prairie has this complaint about Lion Country Safari.
I was going through the rhinoceros part of the safari, and I was parked on the side of the car, and one of the animals were evidently had a problem with food, and he backed into my car. And the problem was that although they assured me that they would pay for the damage, not to worry, there was a lot of problems. There was a release there that I couldn't in good conscience sign it. It was just they were saying that they weren't liable for any of the responsibility.
I called Lion Country Safari about Mr. Fonda's complaints. Lion Country explained that since this accident, the feeding platforms for rhinos have been moved further away from the road to prevent any injuries to automobiles. I also questioned Lion Country representatives about the release Mr. Fonda had to sign to get his car repaired. Lion Country has agreed to delete that portion of the release which said that the company admitted to no liability. Mr. Fred Costin, the public relations director for Lion Country Safari, said his company would accept responsibility for damages to cars or persons visiting the safari. Mr. Costin also advised me that persons visiting Lion Country are in no danger if they will stay in their cars and lock their doors as they are told when they enter the reserve. In Lion Country advertisements, the public is reminded, however, that all animals at the reserve are wild and shown in their natural state. If you have any problems or questions, please write me at Contact 8, Communications Center, Dallas. That's Contact 8. I'm Cecile Burandt.
We got together and talked, not just the backs, but the whole offensive team, and made sort of an agreement among ourselves that we were going to try to get 4 yards on every play we ran, and we felt like if we could do that, we could move the ball and control the ball. And we did that pretty well against Tech, and that's what we're going to try to do this week also.
Well, what do you think will work best against Texas, the pass or the run?
I don't know, sir. We'll just come out and see what happens and do what we have to do.
To receive the honor of the Southwest Conference Player of the Week, to me, it's a real honor, and it's something. I mean, it's the first time I ever got an honor of this caliber, and I'm really satisfied. It makes me feel really good, and I just hope I can keep up and continue to play as I've been playing and improve every week, and maybe we can have a winning season, probably a bowl game appearance this year.
Well, this game against Texas, their running game has been going real well. What can you do to stop that?
Well, naturally, it's a job for the defense, and the running game is tackled. It's at the line, and Ken Steele is probably, he won't be in, so that's going to cause a little bit of tension on me, to know that he's not going to be starting.
This morning was a general holiday at SMU as students, alumni, faculty, and guests gathered at Moody Coliseum for the inauguration. The procession was made up both of faculty and of presidents and delegates of sister universities, some of whom are from as far away as the East Coast and Hawaii. It was a formal inauguration with all the pomp and ceremony that name implies. The procession into the Coliseum was led by the traditional badges of the Office of President of the University, the Bible representing the church affiliation, the mace symbolizing the power of the president, the flag of the university, the seal and keys, and finally the medallion insignium presented by former President Willis Tate. After receiving all the symbols of his office, President Hardin spoke of the ideals of the university and of the ideals of teaching.
First, I call all of us to an understanding that good teaching is the communication of what has been recently learned, and thus that fresh scholarship is the essential cornerstone of our creative contact with our students. At the same time, I call us all to a recognition that what we learn as scholars is valuable only as it is shared, and that our vocation is to share learning with those who come here seeking that great adventure.
SMU's newest president, Paul Hardin, spoke also of the university's responsibility to give the student a good education. So, from here in the Coliseum, it's back to the classroom for faculty and student alike. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News on the Move at Southern Methodist University.
These people are used to gathering news, not making it. That's because they're newsmen and women, members of Sigma Delta Chi National Journalism Society, meeting in convention here in Dallas. Of major concern at this convention are recent court decisions which have eroded some of the news journalists' immunity and protection of his sources. So National Sigma Delta Chi has a project underway that looks for legislation to protect them and their sources. The chairman of a panel on that subject tomorrow, Dick Fogel of California, gave me some major reasons for concern.
Lifeblood of the democracy to get information.
Sigma Delta Chi has established a fund which will help with the legal expenses of several reporters who are fighting to protect their information and their sources. Of course, the greatest concern is that if a free press becomes restricted in one way, it then could also become restricted in other ways. This is Roger McDonald, Channel 8 News on the Move.
The news media itself, we're saying that of this chapter to effect, right?
Think everything's going to work out fine.
Listen,
ago, this chapter was laying on the floor with 3 or 4 people attending
they're upstanding people.
Bring to your attention
luncheons on Mondays, sitting around telling jokes and bun munching. Several of us have gotten interested.
This university
Extremely fatal.
Also an ecological problem, is there not, concerned with
Extremely
this
so.
feeder stream?
Yes, it is. There is quite an ecological problem in that this stream here feeds into Rowlett Creek. Rowlett Creek feeds directly into
I like that one. That's what it is. Our effort was a part of improving and
Dr. Cooley, the meeting for the next 4 days is primarily designed to do what?
Well, I think it's primarily educate.
And if you do not remove and open up the passageway to this building, we will be forced to take action against you.
All right, Judy, first of all, we have a list of revisions to the local civil service system. These revisions entail factors which would include safeguards, promotional procedures, vacation, sick leave, riding or acting in higher capacity pay, and that type of thing. Our talks have been very fruitful, very congenial. We've communicated well, and we understand that probably most of our problem might have been in a communication area. We intend to resume our talks. We will seek a meeting with the Civil Service Commission as early as possible and relay to them the factors that they would be directly involved in. So I think all in all, it's a beginning of something that might be great, and I hope it is.
The problem is we believe that our city is growing too fast for its utilities. We have a wonderful area to live here. We have a lot of green area, trees and so forth. We hate to see it spoiled by more and more houses being added on to an inadequate, apparently an inadequate sewer system. When it comes to the point to where the sewer has to be opened up to dump this effluence all over the ground, we believe it's time for the city to just kind of stop and take stock. Through our action, we're hoping to have the city to stop all building permits and all occupancy certificates in this immediate area until it can be definitely determined that the sewer systems are adequate or inadequate, or what the problem is that's causing them to have to open up these sewers and cause this unsanitary and unhealthy condition that exists. Quite painful, traumatic Pasteur treatments and 14 rabies shots that were administered. One of these days, perhaps a child could be bitten by a rat out in our green belt here and not report it to his parents, and it could be.
You've been world famous in the heart transplant business, if you will, and yet for the last couple of years or so, heart transplants have kind of fallen out of the news.
Well, I think there are a number of factors which would account for this. I think that the public in general is discouraged about the statistical results in heart transplantation. As a consequence, we have very few potential recipients for this operation, and we have an almost vanishing supply of donors.
We shall